Harshaw. I will be starting this webinar in just a couple of minutes. So hang tight for just a minute and we'll be going here shortly. If you'd like to go to the chat and tell me who you are and where you're from, that would be a good way to get the party started. We are using a new webinar interface, same company, but different interface. And somebody go in the chat and just give me a, yep, we can hear you, Rich, just to make sure that everything is okay there. All right. Thank you for that, Justin. I think we're just about ready to roll here. All right. Welcome to the webinar, everybody. This is Rich Harshaw. I am here with you from Level 10 Contractor. We're here today to talk about organic search, organic local search. Probably should put the word organic on the title that's on the screen right now. We're going to talk about Google and AI. So here's what we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about pay-per-click. I talked about that 2 months ago in our February webinar. If you're interested in that, you can look that up on our YouTube channel. It is there for you to watch. Today's topic is more along the lines of organic search. Let's go ahead and take a poll as we get started here. Again, I am on a new interface for this webinar, so I'm going to do my best to make sure that we've got everything situated properly. Let me launch this poll. The key thing would be to find where the polls are. There they are. Let's launch poll number 1. All right. How many leads is SEO bringing you currently? I'd like to hear from you. You doing well? You getting a lot of leads? Getting a few leads? Getting not a ton of leads? How are you doing on this? Okay. Right now in first place by a huge margin is we get 1 to 10 organic leads a month. Okay. We'd have somebody that's popped in on the 50 plus. We don't get any organic leads, say a few people. Give you just a few more moments here to get this up and rolling. All right, I've got 60% of you on here who have done the poll. Anybody else? All right, let's share the results. What do we've got? 50 plus. We got a couple people. We've got a larger percentage that are 1 to 10. So we got a lot of work to do here. That's probably why you're here. No mystery there. And we will move on to this. This is where we're going to start. This is a river in Boise, Idaho. This is actually up in Eagle, Idaho. And this is the 2 boys on the right are my sons. The bald kid with a shirt on, that's my nephew. And then the girls in the water are my nieces and my daughters. And this goes back to the mid-20 teens when we would travel up to Boise, Idaho every week. Excuse me, not every week, every year to celebrate 4th of July with my wife's family up to my in-laws' house. We'd take the kids down to the river as one of the many things that we would do. And this is a good place, as you can tell on your screen, to jump in. There's a rope swing there. One time when I was there with my brother-in-law, Jared, and his daughters, here's what happened. Very interesting. We were playing in the river. The kids were, at least. Me and Jared were sitting there in chairs watching. And this guy comes up with his 2 sons and he starts fishing. And I'm thinking, this is really stupid. Why would you be fishing right here in this place where there's kids jumping in? That seems like a horrible place to fish. Not only is it dangerous for my kids because there's hooks on your freaking line, also, how are you going to catch fish when there's people jumping in all over the place? So this guy's fishing with his kids for like 20 minutes. They're not catching a darn thing. He's getting very aggravated, very frustrated, both with the situation in general and with his kids because they were struggling with their gear, getting it caught in the trees, all kinds of nonsense. Finally, after about 20 minutes, this guy gets up kind of in a huff and he leaves. And I look at Jared, my brother-in-law, and I say, what an idiot. The guy thought he was going to catch fish with all these kids here. And Jared says, well, you know what? He actually wasn't going to catch any fish no matter if we were here or not. Now, here's what you need to know about Jared. He's an avid fisherman. He knows all kinds of things about fishing, grew up doing it in rivers exactly like this. And here's what he told me. He said, here's what they were doing right. They were at a river. That's a good place to start if you're fishing. They had poles, they had hooks and bait. They were casting out and reeling in. But here's what they were doing wrong. This is what Jared told me. First of all, it was the wrong time of day. He said, you're not going to catch fish this time of day. It was the wrong part of the river. There was people around. But also, it wasn't the right part of the river for the fish to be maximally available for catching. But here's the big one. It's in red. You had the wrong kind of rig with the wrong kind of bait, fishing at the wrong depth. In other words, these people were not going to catch fish no matter what, because even though they had the fundamentals right, if you look at the top of your screen, they were at a river with poles, with hooks and bait and casting out and reeling in. They were doing all of the detailed, nuanced things that make it work wrong. Okay. They gave up too soon. Now, we're going to talk about this as we go through the webinar today, because this is how your SEO is working. You're doing the right things. You've hired an SEO agency. You're making it work, so to speak. But because they're not doing the right things in terms of right rig, right bait, time of day, depth, you're getting very suboptimal results, and that's what we're here to fix. Okay, so I'm going to go through this. We'll circle back to this fishing analogy a few times. I'll point some things out to you as you go along. Now, let me tell you who I am. My name is Rich Harshaw. Many of you know that because you've had previous interaction with Level 10 Contractor, which is my company. We're an agency. We do marketing services for contractors. Started this business in '94 as a general marketing consultant, and then got involved in home services and home remodeling in about 2005. Now, my first roofing client went all the way back to 1996, Lawn Smith Roofing in Fort Worth, Texas. They were doing $50 million in sales back when it was a big deal to be doing $50 million in sales. Worked with some of the biggest and most successful companies in the industry. You've heard of some of them: Horizon Services, Service Champions, 1-800-Hanson's, Renewal by Anderson. Also, though, worked with a lot of smaller companies. We are an elite agency working with elite contractors. If you haven't figured this out yet, elite is it's a polite way to say expensive. And we are an expensive agency, and we work with companies that tend to be expensive to their customers in the marketplace, because the reason is it takes a certain amount of money to do things the right way so that the result is optimal, whether that's you selling somebody windows, roof, or siding, or bathrooms, whatever it is you're doing, or it's us selling agency services to you as a client. We specialize in working with companies in the $3 to $20 million range. Probably 8 to 15 is the real solid place where we do most of our business, but we do smaller, and we also, like I mentioned earlier, do business with bigger companies. We're an elite level marketing agency. Here's the services that we offer, just to give you an idea of who I am, what this company is all about, so that you have hopefully some level of credibility that you're going to assign to us. We build websites and do SEO services, pay-per-click and meta, digital advertising. We also do a lot of TV and radio. We're very heavy into streaming TV, which is called OTT or CTV, in case you're not aware. Also, we do a lot with social organic media, which is content marketing. This is a huge area of growth, not only for our agency, but for getting leads from things that are a little bit non-traditional. At the end of the day, here's what you need to know about that. There are 50 gazillion people on social media, and you've got to have a strategy to reach them, whether that be paid advertising or organic social posting, preferably both. Also have a podcast called Level 10 Contractor Daily Podcast. Also have a podcast called Qualified Remodeler called Marketing Matters. Also, more recently, we have launched a YouTube channel. This video of this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel later on. Today, we'll also be sending you a link to that so you can get that later. Okay. Now, I want to tell you about our sponsor today, which is Engage. We only have one today, so I'm going to run a quick poll, and you can indicate interest in Engage if you would like to. Let me go to my polls. There they are. I'm going to launch my second poll here, and you can indicate interest. Now, if you're not familiar with Engage, this is a company that has a software that allows you to have more impactful presentations in the home with the homeowners. Okay, so in the old days, you had your flip chart where you go in and you flip through the book. That got a little bit outdated. Then you moved over to the PowerPoint, which is good. But the problem with the PowerPoint is it's linear. Like our conversation today is a PowerPoint, which is okay because it is a linear conversation. I'm doing a presentation. It's not interactive like your sales presentations are. And when you've got an interactive sales presentation, you want to make sure that you've got maximum flexibility to be able to jump around to the things that are the most important to a given person at a given time. And Engage gives you that flexibility. So not only is the interface beautiful and it looks amazing, but also you're going to be able to focus in on the details of what somebody needs to talk about or listen to or hear you talk about at any given time. Also, Engage is going to have analytics that's going to show you how long your salespeople are spending on certain things, where they're going, how the process works. And that is going to be valuable to you in helping you train your salespeople. So I'm going to encourage you to fill out the poll right now. If you'd like to learn more about Engage, just click that on there. If you do not want to learn more about Engage, then don't click it. I see that several of you are already customers, so you could probably lend a testimonial. It's a phenomenal product, and I encourage you to do that. So thank you for participating in the poll. All right, now let's get into the heart of our discussion today. Question: what is the purpose of your website? And the answer to that is there's only two things. Thing number one is it's there to drive traffic from search. Now, this sounds a little bit weird because if I asked you what is the purpose of your website, in the answer being it's to drive traffic, you say, well, wait a second. How is my website driving traffic? Shouldn't it be receiving traffic? I want my website to receive traffic from Google and from AI, but you're telling me that the purpose of it is actually to drive traffic. And the answer is yes, absolutely 100%. Why? Because the way that you set up your website and the kinds of content that you put on your website are going to essentially be the major determining factor as to whether or not Google sends traffic. So that's the point of what we're going to talk about. The second thing that your website is supposed to do is convert the traffic that does come to your website into leads. And that can be direct traffic from ads or job signs or your reputation, whatever you're doing to drive traffic, but also, of course, the search traffic that you're getting from organic search. That's it. Those are the only two things that your website is supposed to be doing. And if it's doing that, awesome. The poll would suggest that maybe it's not doing that. We got a lot of feedback on the poll that says, hey, I'm getting 0 leads or less than 10 leads. Here's the question: how's yours doing? Already asked that when we did the poll, so I've got a pretty good idea. Now, we do audits on websites. You can see one on the screen right now. And this will make more sense after we go through our presentation today, but I do want you to have a feel for this. This is the way it works. We've got 4 different areas of your website that we're going to be looking at: how many troops you're putting into battle, what kind of signals you're sending, the engagement in terms of identity, and then also your Google Business Profile. Each of these things have an individual score on a scale of 1 to 100, and then we average them over here on the left to get this overall score. You'll see right here that this particular one scored an 18, which is terrible. 18. Think about it this way: if you were to bring home a report card, I'm Gen X, so if I would have brought home a report card in the 1980s that had an 18 in science, think about these things here: troops, signals, engagement. These are your science, math, English, social studies, whatever. If the average was 18, my dad would have killed me because that was unacceptable back in those days. Here's what you need to know: the average score of all of the websites that we look at is about 27. Not about 27, it's 27. 27 out of 100. And here's what that means. It means that your website is doing an absolutely horrible, terrible, awful job of the only 2 things that it's supposed to be doing, which are, number 1, driving traffic to your website, and number 2, converting that traffic into leads. So this is the problem. I've defined it on the screen right here. It's the 27. I'm going to give you an opportunity. If you'd like, you can get your phone out and do the QR code thing right here, and we can find out how your website is doing. Now, I'll put this QR code on again later towards the end of the webinar, but I want to give you a chance now, if you'd like to get signed up to do this audit so we can take a look at how your website is doing. This will give you a very good idea if you're scoring a 27, here's what you need to understand about that. You are losing business that you should be getting if you're scoring a 27 or a 30 or a 40 or a 17 or whatever the relatively speaking low number is. So this is a tremendous opportunity, and that'll make more sense to you as we go throughout this presentation today. So let's get started with Google. I'm going to put some stats on the screen. All these stats mean is that Google is very, very popular. It's #1 search engine. I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't already know, but the reason I'm putting this on the screen is because you have to be. All right, let's stop and think about this for a minute. How do people find out what roofer to go with? Okay, so this is different than, like, imagine you go to a restaurant, okay, and the waiter comes over and says, "Would you like something to drink?" And you say, "Well, what do you have?" And they say, "Well, we have Coke products, hopefully Pepsi products. Give me a break." Okay, so they say we have Coke products. And you say to them, "Coke, huh? What is this Coke that you are talking about?" And they say, "Well, it's Coca-Cola. It's a brand of soft drink." So you get your phone out and you start Googling, you know, Coca-Cola. What is this? Are the reviews good for Coca-Cola? Of course you're not doing that, because obviously everybody knows exactly what Coca-Cola is. I'm not saying you like it or don't like it. The point is, you know what it is because it's a common thing that everybody's aware of. Now, when it comes to your roof or remodeling your bathroom or getting your HVAC system replaced, nobody knows what to do or who to call, because here's why: they've never bought it before. It's like 10 or 15% of all the people that you'll ever sell anything to have ever bought that thing before. Okay. So they don't know. So they're going to go to Google, and you say, "Well, we've got advertising and that drives uh, all kinds of leads." Yeah, great. Of course. I'm not telling you to stop doing your advertising. I have a marketing agency here. That's what we do. We spend your money on your behalf to get people to see your ad so that they will come and do business with you, obviously. And also, you may want to consider being very active in the #1 place where people are actually going to look for what you sell, which is Google. You say, "Well, what about AI?" Man, about to have a about to have a sore throat arrest here. What about AI search? Well, here's what you need to know about that. It still uses the same underlying indexing protocol as Google does. What does that mean? It'll become more clear to you as we go throughout our presentation today. But in general, here's what it means. Google and or AI have to know where your site is relevant and what your site is relevant for. And you have to create pages that make it perfectly obviously clear to the underlying agent, which is going to either be Google or AI. Okay. So everything we're going to talk about today applies to both. For most of our conversation today, I'm going to use the word Google when I'm talking about it. Just know, don't be that guy that's like, "Well, what about AI? What about ChatGPT?" Yes, it also applies. And I will cover AI specifically, briefly, but specifically towards the end of our presentation today. Okay. So let's go through the 6 reasons why your website is failing. We're going to spend a little bit of time on some of these and quite a bit of time on others. So let's jump right in right now. Okay, so the first thing is your website is focused on looks. Now, here's what you need to know. Google does not give a solitary crap what your website looks like. It just doesn't care. Obviously, aesthetics are essential for conversion. You don't want to have a 2004 looking website that people think some 7th grader 2 decades ago created. Obviously, that's bad. But if you're optimizing for looks, you're going to fail, because that's not what is making the difference between people getting to your website and or becoming a lead from your website. Looking nice is just the table stakes. Okay. Obviously, you want your site to look good. I see this is a big problem with the design build companies. They want their website to look so high end and so, Apple, very designed because it communicates something. And fine, do that. But here's what I hear people saying: "We'll do the website audit. It'll score a 27 or whatever your particular score is." And then people will say to me, Yeah, it scores a 27, but man, we get compliments all the time about it. First of all, no, you don't. No, you don't. Your mom might be complimenting you because who freaking cares about your website the way it looks? Nobody. As long as it's not terrible. So we just want to make sure you're optimizing for the things that are going to move the needle. And again, like I said, yes, it needs to look nice. Let's go to the things that actually make the biggest difference. And this is it right here. Missing geo keyword optimized content. Now, here's what you need to know. Google does not rank websites. Yeah, I'm just letting that hang out there for a minute. Google doesn't rank websites, it's ranking web pages. And the reason is that Google is looking for precise matches for specific searches that people are making. Okay, so you've got to create pages that are optimized for where people are searching. That's the geo. And what they are searching for, that's the keyword. So we've got geo keyword content. This is what you're going to do to make your website drive traffic to your website and convert that traffic. Okay. So you've got to create geo keyword optimized content. If you don't, you're dead meat. You're just dead meat. Now, this is a map of World War II Pacific Theater. Now, my grandfather he's about to turn 101. That dude just keeps on living, man. He's like the Energizer Bunny, except for he can't see, hear, or walk. But regardless, he's old. He did fight in World War II in the Pacific Theater. He first fought in the Battle of Midway, and then later on, they sent him over to Iwo Jima. You can see a little further left on your screen. And here's why I'm bringing this up, because I'm going to make an analogy here, which is SEO is like war. Here's what you don't do in a war. You don't just go fight the whole darn thing. Now the Iran war is a little bit different, but traditionally speaking, you don't just go fight the war. You put troops into battles in the places that are important. Okay, so we're going to use this as an analogy. SEO is like war. You have to determine where it is that you want to dominate and what it is you want to dominate for. That's the geo and the keyword, and this becomes your geo keyword pairs. So an example would be like roofing in Auburn, Washington, or tub to shower conversions in Chula Vista, California. Now, let me be super specific with you here. The idea here is that if you create content that is optimized, in this example, for tub to shower conversions in Chula Vista, California, then when somebody is in Chula Vista, California, and also searching for tub to shower conversions, Google is going to look at that and go, hey, look, these guys have a page that is exactly what and where this person's searching. And then it goes into the search rankings very high up in the rankings. That's what we're trying to do. And the more precise your geo keyword pairs can be, the more likely those pages are to be put into the Google search results and highly ranked to boot. Okay, so for instance, notice this last one, tub to shower conversions. That's actually a subcategory of a broader category called bathroom remodeling. Now, yes, you should, if you're a bathroom remodeling company, you should be optimizing for bathroom remodeling. But also, you can break it down into tub to shower conversions, or shower to tub conversions, or bathtub replacements, or walk-in tubs. The more specific you get, the better it's going to work. Chula Vista, California is a suburb of San Diego. So you've got Chula Vista, you've got El Cajon, you've got the other suburbs that I can't remember the names of them right now. Typically, here's what you're going to find. You're going to find that if you look around from a geographic standpoint, that there's going to be anywhere from something like 25 or 30 specific geos that you're servicing, all the way up to maybe as many as 200. And I'm talking about companies that are in one geographic area. If you're in 7 major metropolitan areas across the eastern seaboard, that's going to even expand this to more. But what I'm talking about is if you're in Dallas, Texas, there's 200 cities, and you've got to create content that optimizes for all of them. This is what the geo keyword pair thing is for. You've got to create troops, which are pages in our analogy, and put them into these battles. Okay, size matters a lot. Most websites have 10 to 25 pages, and they're going to be typically core pages. What's a core page? A core page is going to be the main pages on your website that are visible from the main navigation that people see when they go to your website. Those are the core pages. And that's the extent of what most companies have on their websites. It's a good start, but you should actually have 40 core pages. Why 40 instead of 10 or 15 or 25? Because core pages, their main job is to convert people who are on your website into a lead. So you've got to build your story and build your case, tell your story, and that's what those 40 core pages are for. If you've got fewer than 40 core pages, that means that you're giving yourself fewer opportunities to have something that's potentially interesting and relevant and worthwhile to a prospect to get them to want to absorb more information from you and therefore potentially become a lead. Now, core pages, that's a good start. Then you're going to want to add service area pages and blog pages. I'll show you these in just a minute. These are the real important troops that are going to be sending traffic to your website, the service area pages and the blog pages. The bigger your army, the more battles you're going to win. The goal is to have a 500 plus page website. Okay, now I'm going to stop here for just a minute, and I want to acknowledge that most of you have a website that is far smaller than 500 pages. You've got maybe 10 to 25 core pages. You've got maybe a small handful of service area pages and or blog pages, and it's just not enough. You don't have enough troops in the battle. And people look at this sometimes and they go, wow, 500 pages, that's just a lot. I mean, that sounds expensive, Rich, and that's going to take some time and some effort and some money to get that put into place. And the answer is yes, yes. It's going to take time, effort, and money to win at this game that we're playing. Let me tell you a little story here. If you're familiar with the Los Angeles Dodgers, you probably are. They're a baseball team. They've won the World Series 2 years in a row. They've won 3 out of the last 6. And the reason is they're the best team in the league. Well, why are they perpetually the best team in the league? And the answer is they made a decision. They're going to spend more money than anybody in the league. Now, in the MLB, Major League Baseball, they have what's called a salary cap. The salary cap says you're only allowed to spend a certain amount of money on salaries. This is intended to keep the playing field, so to speak, equal so that there's not one particular team that spends a lot more than the others. However, there is a rule or a loophole in the salary cap, which is you can actually spend as much as you want, but if you spend over the certain predetermined threshold amount, then you are going to have to pay a fine. They call it a luxury tax. The reason they call it luxury tax is it sounds fancier than a fine. So here's what that means. You can spend up to X number of dollars on salary. And if you go over that threshold, then you are subject to paying a fine. The more you spend over that threshold, the bigger the fine. Here's what you need to know about the Los Angeles Dodgers. This year, 2026 season, they are spending so much money on payroll, $413 million on payroll. It is so far over the luxury tax threshold that they are paying $161 million in luxury tax. Now, here's how that works. All of the teams that pay luxury tax, it goes into a pool, and all of the teams that are not paying luxury tax because they're under the salary cap, those teams then split the luxury tax dollars and it becomes profit to them. So there's a real incentive to be under the luxury tax threshold. And here's what this is like. This is like a company saying, you know, we're just not going to put a bunch of troops in the battle because we're going to save money and then we'll have more money because we didn't spend it on all these troops. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Dodgers, which in your case are going to be whatever the biggest competitor you have that understands his strategy and says, you know what, to heck with that. We're going to spend money and we're going to spend a lot of money and we're going to get this done. And we're going to put hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of troops into these battles so that we can win. And they're going to destroy you the same way that the Los Angeles Dodgers. Did you know that there's 12 teams that have a total salary this year that is less than the penalty, the luxury tax that the Dodgers are paying? And the Dodgers are laughing all the way to the bank. They spent $700 million last year to sign Shohei Ohtani, who's not arguably, he is definitively the best player in baseball. He was on the Los Angeles Angels for a long time. And they said, screw that, we'll give you $700 million, come play over here. And they just keep winning. Why am I bogging down on this point? Because this is one of those things. We started with the river, okay? You have to have your poles fishing. I'm going into a bunch of now. Here's the analogies I've got so far. I've got fishing and I've got war and I've got baseball. You've got to be fishing in the right pond or the right river. And if you don't understand that people are the majority of business is going to come from Google. Majority, because why? We covered this earlier. Nobody knows who to call for a freaking roof. Well, they see my trucks driving around, Rich. No, they don't. Yeah, I know some people do, and I know you get some phone calls. I'm not saying you shouldn't have trucks, and I'm not saying you shouldn't wrap them, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do advertising. All of those things are awesome. And also, still, the majority of people that need a freaking roof or a kitchen or an HVAC are going to go to Google because they don't know, despite everything you're doing, despite all the money you're paying. And if you're not willing to put the troops into the battle, which is to say, mixing metaphors here, using the right bait at the right depth, at the right part of the river, at the right time of day, then you are going to lose the biggest part of the leads that could and should be coming to you, to your competitors who are willing to do it. There's three kinds of pages. We talked about core pages, right? These are the main pages on your website. Their purpose is to convert visitors to lead. It's going to be like these up here. You see this? Why Shiner, services, resources, about us. If you hit this drop down over here, it's got more pages. These are all intended to help convert people who are on your website into leads. If they came from your guy knocking on the door, they gave them a card, they went later and they looked online, they set an appointment. If they saw your truck and they went online to Google you and they found this, if you're running Google whatever you're doing to send people to your website, these are the core pages and they're designed to convert. Okay. That's what they're there for. Most websites only have 10 to 25 core pages. You need at least 40. Okay. That's the starting point here. Now, there's two other kinds of pages. Let's go into these in detail. You'll see that they're in red. That means they're probably important. Okay. Service area pages. These are product pages for specific geos, like I mentioned earlier. They should be optimized for specific geo keyword pairs, and they are going to be a major source of traffic to your site. So again, like I said earlier, if your prospect is in Chula Vista, California, and they go to their phone or their computer and they type in tub to shower conversion, you need to have a page that is specifically optimized for tub to shower conversions for Chula Vista, California. People will then land on that page and then they will say, oh, here's somebody that I could possibly do business with. Then they're going to start looking around at your core pages. So they've got to be optimized. You got to have a lot of them so that you can convert that that visitor into a lead. Now, blog pages, what are these? These are based on terms people actually are searching. These are going to be longer tail keywords. So for an example, to make this very easy to understand, let's say that somebody is sitting in Chula Vista, California, okay? Same as before, but this time, instead of searching tub to shower conversion, they type in the following into Google. How much does it cost to remodel my bathroom? Now, that's a very common question that people are asking Google, AI, etc. And so if you've got a blog page on your website that has the following title, how much does it cost to remodel a bathroom in Chula Vista, California? Google looks at that and goes, ding, 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 ding. Perfect match. That is exactly what and where this person is searching. So it goes straight to the top of the search results. People click on it. Now you've got traffic on your website that you can then convert into leads. Okay. So blog pages and service area pages, this is the secret sauce to getting traffic to your website. They must be geo optimized. A major problem we see, I'll show you an example of this in just a minute, is that people create blogs. You're like, why do you have blogs on your website? And they're like, I don't know. The web guy told me I needed them. Yeah, but why? I don't know. And they just create these random blogs and they put them on their websites. And typically they're not geo optimized. And when they're not geo optimized, Google sees it when it indexes it and it asks the question, where is this page relevant? And it looks for clues on your page. And if those clues are not present and they don't exist, and you're not telling Google where that blog is relevant, then Google shrugs its shoulders and says, well, I guess this is not relevant because it doesn't know where to show it. It's a major faux pas and you need to fix it. Okay. So we think of these service area pages and blog pages as special forces troops. Okay. They're the ones that are really in there doing the dirty work. All right. Now, if you look here on the screen, up here at the top, Shiner Exteriors, metro areas, and you can see we've got Alexandria, Annandale, Arlington, Ashburn, Brambleton, Broadlands, and if we were to scroll down, we can't because this is a screenshot, but if it wasn't, we could scroll down and you would see that there's dozens of different cities that they service. We put them in alphabetical order. Blogs right here at the top, you'll see this is a blog directory, and you'll see here that all of these blogs are optimized for specific areas. McLean, Virginia, Ashburn, Virginia. This one's in also for Ashburn, Virginia. Now, the idea here, just to make sure we're super clear, is not that people are going to come to your service area directory, like on the previous page here, or to your blog directory, like you see here, and say, oh, let me choose one of these blogs to read. Oh, let me see if these people are doing business in my town. It's not what they're there for. They're there so that when people in these towns are searching for these things, these are the pages that are going to show up in the Google search results. Yes, and also in the AI search results. Okay, that's what they're there for. About 50% of the websites that we audit have fewer than 10 special forces troops. You need 200 to 500 plus just to play the game, people. If you don't have any of these pages, you are going to lose. And you're going to be like, oh, hey, Rich, you're an agency. Help us generate leads. Can we do Facebook advertising? Yeah, we can do that. Can we do TV advertising? Yeah, we can do that. And also, why don't you put your freaking pole in the river called Google? Build service area pages and blog pages so that they show up in the search results, because that's where the overwhelming majority of people who are looking for what you sell are actually located in their search. Okay, so check this out right here. Up here at the upper right hand corner, this is the total pages on the site. This is what the web score summary looks like. You can see these guys only scored a 7. That's pathetic. But up here at the top right, it tells the story. Number of core pages on this website, 10. Number of blog pages, 0. Number of service area pages, 0. Guess what? You lose. It's guaranteed. You never showed up. You didn't put any troops into the battle. And then you're wondering why the island just got taken without any resistance, because you didn't put any resistance. It's not a mystery. This is elementary, easy to understand level stuff. Okay. You got to have these pages or else you lose. Now, the third thing, we're talking about 6 things here, is that the content is not optimized properly. So the pages, it's not enough that they just exist. They have to be sending the right signals. Okay. So Google's going to look at the page, going to what we call index the page to see what's on it. And it's going to look for clues as to what this page is relevant for, keywords, and where this page is relevant, geos. Okay. And these on the screen, going to get a little bit nerdy here. These are the things that that Google is looking for as signals as to what and where this page is about. Okay. So let me show you what these are. The first one is the page URL. This is up here at the top. Okay. The second one is going to be this picture. So you see this guy, he's got this thermostat that he's working on, very nice turtleneck there, neatly trimmed beard, very handsome man. But Google doesn't care about that. Google wants to know, well, what is this picture about? So if you hit the right button on your mouse, like I just did here, and you say, show me, save this photo, it's going to tell you what this photo is named. Here's what this photo is named. Expert Residential Electric Services, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Shafinsky Electric. Okay, this is called a signal. Google's going to look at that and go, well, the name of this picture is Expert Residential Electric Services, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Shafinsky Electric. That has something to do with electrical services. Where? Allentown, Pennsylvania. So Google knows this is a signal. So we've got now a signal up here in the URL. Now we've got a signal here in the photo name. We go down to the next part. Whoops. See this up here, this big red arrow? This is what we call the H1. H stands for head. For first, H1, the first header. It's the first header on the page. Look what it says. Our residential electrical services for customers in greater Allentown, Pennsylvania. Now, here's what you need to know about this. Not only is it a header that makes it obvious for people, but also this is one of the main things that Google is actually looking for. And you say, well, what about AI? Go search for something on AI, and here's what you'll see. It'll say scanning the web, and all it's doing is doing the same kind of search that Google's doing. Okay, does it make sense to you? So if you don't have the geo keyword pair clearly and obviously located in the H1, the first header, that's a major missed signal opportunity. So put the signal on there, okay? Then you'll see down here in the H2. What do you think H2 stands for? Well, it's the second header, and it's going to be the secondary headers, residential service areas. Also down here in the content, we're putting the geo keyword pair, electrical things, electrical problems. So we're giving Google plenty of things to grab onto in terms of the geo keyword pair on this page. Okay, and here's some more things that you can see on this slide that represent what I just said. All right, on this page, you'll see that we've got some questions and answers. Can you upgrade my knob and tube wiring? I need to upgrade my electrical service to have an EV charger installed. These are things that are going to be very, very valuable for, that's the drum roll, AI. This is the number one thing that you can do for your website from an AI standpoint. In other words, getting found through AI searches is to create questions and answers, because that is the domain of AI. People are going to go into AI and ask it specific questions. And if you've got a Q&A format on your website, that's going to be extraordinarily helpful in getting found in those kinds of searches. Okay. Now, here's what we know. Very few special forces troops are properly geo keyword optimized. Less than 10% of all the websites that we see. So let me review what we've covered so far. I've said the average website score on the audit is 27. I've said that you've got to have 40 core pages. Most only have 10 to 25. That's a problem. I've said that you've got to have 200 to 500 service area pages and or blog pages. Most companies have very few or none. And also those pages can't just simply exist. They have to be properly optimized so that Google knows what they are. And I'm telling you that less than 10% of all the websites that we look at, less than 10%, I would say it's more like 3%, 2%, 4%, somewhere in that range, actually do what I just said. Dramatic pause. Why? Because this is a massive opportunity. Okay, this is me over here kind of face palming. The number one place where people are looking for roofers or whatever you sell, and 97% of the companies suck at fishing in that river. Get good at it, people, and this will be a major competitive opportunity. Let's look at a couple of examples here. This is a company that scored 15 on their web audit. You can see here at the top, 17 core pages, not enough. 24 blog pages, not enough. 130 service area pages. Okay, well, at least we can look at that and go, hey, this company was at least using a strategy to create service area pages. But when you look at the service area page, here's the problem. Here's the H1, your residential roofing partner. This is the H1. There's no geo indicator. Why not? Answer, nobody knows. It's just a complete oversight from a SEO company that sucks. You say, well, that's harsh. Why would you say they suck? Because they suck. Because the number one thing that's the most important thing, which is the geo indicator, is not in the H1. It's freaking obvious. If you were to hit the right button on this photo, which I don't know why you'd put a mobile home on your website, but whatever, the photo is not properly named either. Okay, so we got problems here. Now let's go to a different example. This is Columbine Roofing, 28 core pages, 109 blogs. Okay, so these guys are leading heavy into the blog. But if we look at the blog, here's what we see. Columbine Roofing, top 5 materials you should know about. Here's the H1 right here. Whoops. Didn't actually need to go to that. We'll go back here. The top 5 roofing materials you should know about. There, where? It's not here. It's not here. It's not in the photo. It's not in the content. It's not in the H2. Google has no idea where this page is relevant. So you pay money to create these pages that nobody will ever see because you've done it wrong. Wrong bait, wrong depth, wrong time of day. We're catching no fish. Why not? Because you did it wrong. All right, now let's go to the next part of this, which is identity. This is important. Most people have never bought what you're selling, as we've already talked about. They certainly don't know which companies are best. So don't make them wait for the sales appointment. You want to educate them on your website. Okay. So here's what you want. You want your business to stick out like the one red apple in a sea of green apples. This is what you think is happening. You're like, oh, we do so many different, unique, cool things. We're so much better than our competitors. But it's not really happening from the standpoint of people understanding that, because your website looks freaking exactly the same, says the same kinds of things, has no distinction from your competitors. So this is what's really happening. You just sort of look like this green apple. Most marketing is full of platitudes. Now I'm talking about websites now, but I'm also talking about all marketing. Think about what any dollar you're spending on marketing, this applies. Words or phrases that are drearily commonplace, predictable, that lack power to evoke interest through overuse and repetition. This is what a platitude is. It's when you go on your website or in your marketing, you say, we've got the best service, the highest quality, the largest selection, free SEO. You know, we've been in business since 1431 BC. This is ridiculous stuff that's platitudes that nobody cares about. And it doesn't work. People just gloss over it, and it doesn't make any impression whatsoever. So you end up looking like your competitor on your website and your home show display, print, digital, TV, whatever it is. Everything looks the same. You're like the same color apple. Here's an example for Pleasant Grove's window installers. Pleasant Grove is the town near where I live. Look what this says. Performance Windows provides the highest quality windows at a fraction of the price. Okay. Do you really think that somebody is going to read that and go, hey, honey, come here, check this out. Uh, you know how we need new windows? Yeah. I found a company that has the highest quality windows, which is awesome, but it's only a fraction of the price. I mean, usually things that are the highest quality actually have a higher price tag, not a fraction of the price. Like, you think people actually believe this? Nobody believes. It's platitude. It's just dumb. And you scroll down, the guy looks like a Muppet. He's saying all this same platitudinal weird stuff. On top of that, having modern features make it impossible not to love all while bringing a fresh new spark to the aesthetic. It's just dumb. Be comfortable, be efficient. Give us a call to get the window your home needs. It's just stupid. You sound like Charlie Brown's mom, you know, wah, 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 wah. This is not what you want in any of your marketing, let alone your website, okay? Now, this is where we shift gears and talk about what you do want. Identity. Identity is the opposite side of the coin from platitudes. Words, phrases, and images articulated with power, precision, and passion instantly, definitively communicate who you are, how you're different and better, what customers can expect when they do business with you. This is what you're going for. Okay, identity. Now, we use this framework for identity. We don't have time to go through this in detail on our webinar today. We've got 13 minutes. We're going to wrap it up. But here's what you need to know. This is the framework that we use at Level 10 Contractor. Take a screenshot of this. Get your phone out. Take a picture of this. What you want to do is go through each of the 5 pillars and look at the individual identity points and determine which 2 or 3 from each of the 5 pillars maps most closely to what your company already does and what you're all about. Okay. This is how it works. So you look at this and you say, okay, no cutting corners. Okay. So now what we've got to do is we've got to find a story that we can tell to illustrate that, so it makes it come alive to people. So let me give you this example. This is for a roofer. You might say something like this on your website or on your, what do you call it? When somebody calls in, the voice script, when you're setting appointments, it might be on a TV commercial. It might be on a Facebook ad. To meet manufacturer standards, every shingle must have 6 nails. Some roofers, to save time and money, are going to cut corners, only use 3 or 4 nails. They save $20 to $50 on nails, a couple $100 on labor, but your roof's warranty is instantly voided. You're never going to know it until later when you have a leak or some other problem. They're going to quote the job cheaper, and then they're going to pocket the savings. You're going to get left holding the bag. Don't risk it. That's not how we operate. Now, this is very powerful. It's got a lot of areas in this story for people's brains to kind of latch onto it and say, oh, okay, I know what nails are. I know what shingles are. I don't know a whole lot about roofing, but it seems reasonable that 6 nails would probably be better than 3 or 4 nails. And it seems reasonable that there would be companies that would save 20, 40, 50 bucks and screw me over in the process. But I didn't know that. And the reason I didn't know that is because why? Because I've never bought a roof before. Because how would I possibly know this, Napoleon? nobody knows this. So you have to tell them. So this is how we take a platitude, we never cut corners, and we turn it into an identity point. It's powerful, it's storytelling, it's an example, it compares, gives people something to grab onto, and it works. Okay. Almost none of the web content that we audit is relevant, interesting, and engaging. It is not identity oriented, and therefore it doesn't work nearly as well as it could if it were identity based. Now, moving right along through this presentation, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Number 5, social proof is lacking or missing. This is I'm talking about reviews, image galleries, videos. You need to make them easy to find on your website, not just, hey, guess what? We've got 263 Google reviews, 5-star, and people see that when they Google you. You've got to actually put it on your website. You got to talk about it and show people what that means. Now, I'm going to just give you a little quick tip here. If your company is sitting at 2.6 stars, 4.6 stars or less, 4.6 stars or less, you're kind of screwed, because Google hates you, because they assume that because your star rating is so low that you suck, and they're going to be very loath to put you in search results. Immediately stop and get everybody in your company on board with getting as many 5-star reviews as you possibly can. Now, if the reason you're not getting 5-star reviews is because you suck and people are giving you crappy reviews, obviously it happens sometimes for everybody. If you're consistently getting bad reviews, then you need to fix your crap. Okay. Nothing I can do to help you from a marketing standpoint if you are, in fact, a steaming pile of horse crap. Okay. Missing AI optimizations. This is the 6th reason why your website isn't working as well as it should. You need to triple down on location signals like we just talked about, and then answer first pages. I already gave you an example of this. Robust FAQs, also high value media like video is going to work. It's going to boost your authority footprint. So here's an example of this. This is Shiner Exteriors FAQs in Purcellville, Virginia. And again, we need to make sure that this is geo keyword optimized. So it's not just enough to have a singular page dedicated to FAQs. You've got to put them on all the pages, the service area pages, the blog pages, and you've got to give AI something to hang on to. It's also great for people and Google. Okay. Now, let's go into the home stretch here. I'm going to land this plane. I want to encourage you to take us up on our web score audit. It's a 1-hour review of your current site. Find out where you're strong, find out where you're weak. You can review your company's identity, see if that's doing okay. Then we're going to map out a 40-page website plan. If it's a good fit, if you end up doing business with us, that would be awesome. If not, that's okay too. There's no hard feelings. This is not a big sales pitch. It's designed to help you see where your website sucks, which is probably a lot of places based on what we just talked about, so that you can improve it. Okay. Now, let me help you understand this. To win, you're going to need a 40-page website and then ongoing SEO to continue to put the troops into battle. 200 troops to compete, 500 to supposed to say 1,000 troops to dominate. That's where you're aiming for. Remember the Los Angeles Dodgers. You need a lot of troops. Okay. Identity-based pages. How long does it take? People always want to know, how many troops do you have to put into the battle? Well, for every 100 troops that you have, which is a page, service area pages and blog pages, okay, conservatively, you should get about 15 quotable leads per month. Frequently, we'll see that number higher, 30 quotable leads per month. Optimistically, 45 quotable leads per month. And over time, it could get even more. But let's just focus on the 15 to 30 number and run those numbers. So if you put 30 troops into battle in a year, and you get 30 quotable leads, that's 360 per year. If you set 80% and you close a third of them, if your average sale is $17,000, then you're going to be doing about $1.6 million in revenue. Now, you might say, I don't know if I believe that. We've tried this stuff before and it doesn't work. Well, first of all, ask yourself, was it based on geo keyword pairs and optimizing and sending the right signals? Answer, no, it was not. Well, how do you know, Rich? You never looked at my website. Well, I'm about to. If you'll get the web score audit, we'll sit down and show you. But also, we do hundreds of these per year, maybe even 1,000 per year. And guess what I consistently see over time, over and over and over and over and over and over again? It's not doing these things. That's why it's scoring 27 on average. Okay. Now, this is the most important thing I want you to focus on. If you put 100 troops into battle, they're going to be there next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. So they're going to continue to generate leads well after you've paid for them. And they're just going to be free leads that come after that. This is how it grows over time. Okay. Who should be doing this? If you're doing over $2 million in sales, then you should consider building a permanent lead faucet like I just talked about. If you're doing over 5 million and you don't do this, I don't know how to say it other than that's just dumb. Why would you refuse to put your pole in the most important river with the best bait at the right depth, at the right, you know, all the factors we talked about for fishing? Why would you not do that? I don't know. Smaller companies, you should only do this if you're ready to aggressively grow. There may be other things that you need to spend money on before you do this. So if you're in the 2 to 5 range, you know, you should be really looking at this. If you're over 5, it's just flat dumb not to do it. Okay. Now, here's the cool thing. AI has dropped the pricing. We used to sell websites last year, 4 months ago. Websites were $15,000 to $20,000. Every site was custom built from scratch. A lot of smaller companies couldn't afford it. We now sell these websites, 40-page websites, $5,000. Flat price is $5,000. How? AI allows us to build these websites much quicker and easier. Now, the content is all completely custom and it's based on interviews with you and going through in detail to make sure that we have your identity. Now, that $5,000 price is with a 2-year SEO commitment, and prices of that start at $2,500 a month. That's a little bit misleading because that is for very small companies. For anybody that's on this webinar, the actual SEO prices started at $3,500 a month. That's our lowest package. This $2,500 represents the very, very small companies. So anyway, it's kind of like what the car commercial says, starting at $299 payment. Well, the one you want, trust me, it's going to be $499, not $299. Okay. But here's the cool thing. We're putting twice as many troops into battle as we did in 2025. So in other words, our level 5 SEO now has twice as many for the same price as it did last year. Our level 10 SEO, twice as many troops for the same price. Then we have 2 higher packages, turbo and nuclear, depending on how aggressive you want to get with this stuff. Okay. You can just dominate faster now than you could before. So AI has allowed us to give you way more bang for your buck. Same money, twice as much bang for the buck on SEO. And with your website, it's literally a third to a fourth of the cost for the same thing. So thank you, AI. All right. So we're going to end up there. I am going to open this call to any questions that anybody has. So if anybody would like to go to the question console, please do that right now. And I will take any questions that anybody wants to ask for, as long as you want to ask them. We've got 3 minutes till the end of the hour, but I'll keep going for 2.5 hours if we need to. I'm joking. I'm not going to go for 2.5 hours. All right. Thank you for attending today, folks. If you have any questions, please stick around and type them into the chat or into the question module. Okay, I got a question here from Victoria. Wouldn't having a website with 500 pages slow down the site speed significantly? No, absolutely not. It would not have any effect whatsoever because you're not loading 500 pages at a time. What slows down a website is going to be 2 different things. Thing number 1 is going to be having a massive code website that has extraneous, unnecessary code that you get when you buy templates off the internet to base your website on. Okay, that's going to slow your website down. Also, what will slow your website down is having massive photos on your website. When I say massive, I don't mean quantity, I mean high resolution. You don't want to do that. But 500 pages on your website, as long as the web code is structured properly and it's what we call a thin theme, it will move lightning fast. You will have absolutely no problems. Now, one thing that can slow you down, just be very aware of this, is if you go in there and put a bunch of code to track a bunch of stuff on your website, that can actually slow you down quite a bit. All right, next question. How about how Google Business Profile interacts with the website? Okay, good question, Bill. Google Business Profile is the 3 packets, the map section. For those of you who are not aware, here's how that works. Typically, you're going to be tethered to your physical location. Google's going to know that because it's going to be on your website and on your Google Business Profile. So you're going to typically rank really well in your home city because you have high authority there because you actually have a location there. The problem is, well, what about 2 towns over or 7 towns over? How can I perform well there? The answer is what we've already covered, is to create geo keyword optimized content and then post it to your Google business profile. So for instance, you could create a blog called "How much does it cost to remodel your bathroom in Chula Vista, California?" Assuming that those things are relevant to your business and where you're doing business. Now, you now post that on your Google business profile, and Google looks at that and says, oh, these guys must be doing business where? Chula Vista. For what? Tub to shower conversion. Why? Because they have a freaking blog on their website that they've now put on their Google business profile that indicates that. So this is going to be a matter of creating and then posting to your Google business profile geo keyword optimized content. It always comes back to geo keyword optimized content. Okay. Question from John: to build these location and service area pages, would those be best? Make sure I can't read all of a sudden. Would those be best in the blog or as some kind of sub page to the services? The blogs need to be in a blog directory, and the service area pages need to be in a service area directory. We're getting a little bit nerdy right now with that particular conversation, which is fine. I'm not calling you a nerd, John, for asking that question. Just it's getting a little bit technical here, but we want to put those into the service area directory and the blog directory respectively. This is about organizing the website in a way that makes sense to Google, so it very easily understands what each kind of page is and gives it the appropriate credit as a result. Next, got a question from Victoria, I missed this one a minute ago. Should the Q&As on websites be on every page? For example, homepage, roofing services page, about us page, etc. You don't need to put the FAQs on all of your core pages. It's not going to necessarily be appropriate, but you need to put them on the overwhelming majority of your service area pages. And blog pages, maybe not, because the blog is going to be talking in very detailed, it's going to be very detailed discussion about a particular topic. So it's already going to have a lot of things that AI can grab onto out of that. But for your service area pages, I'm going to recommend that every single one of them has a level of FAQ on it. Absolutely. Yes. All right. Andrea, with franchising, what are noticing microsite structures versus local site structures? I think you're asking me about microsite structures for a franchise versus local site. Okay, when we get into franchises, we get into all kinds of weird conversation about what the franchise will allow you to do versus what they won't allow you to do. And typically the franchisee is held sort of captive by whatever the franchisor decides to do. Ideally, you're going to have actual local site structure. That's going to be the ideal situation. But Andrea, I can't give you a ton of information about your specific question because we need to, find out a little bit more detail. Are you a franchisee? Are you a franchisor? What are you trying to accomplish? But from generally speaking, from a how well it works standpoint, you're going to want the local site structure. I think that's it. I think I answered all the questions. If you got any more, feel free to ask it right now or forever hold your peace. All right. I think that's going to do it. Thanks for the questions. I appreciate it. Bill and John, Victoria, Justin, thanks so much for asking questions. And thank you to everybody for participating. That's it for today. Talk to you next time.